Hello and welcome to a new edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. I'm very happy to have in studio today somebody who I really admire, who's really more of an artist, I think, than a photographer, or is that part of the thing? Maybe that's a part of photography. Her name is Marissa Pellegrini, and she is a photographer extraordinaire. So welcome to our program.
Thank you for having me.
So Marissa, why don't you tell us a little bit, because I know your background with photography sort of changed through your career. So why don't you tell us a little bit how you got started and how it evolved?
Well, I went to the School of Visual Arts, and we started in film. So everything that I shot, I started in food photography, and that was all tabletop still life.
Now, when you photograph food, I would imagine that's sort of kind of a constant, right, to photograph food? Or maybe not, because light and it's perishable.
It's perishable. It's a lot of waiting around for everything to look right. And,
sure.
And that was fun, and I had met a designer who said, well, you can photograph my house because it's like a big still life. Sure. So I said I would try it, and I really fell in love with it once I shot his home.
So let's talk about transitioning from actually photographing food to photographing a room. I think maybe photographing food would be easier because you're focusing in on one thing. You're maybe not dealing with as much angles or light because you're photographing a small.
But sometimes that's the challenge because it is so small.
Sure.
And you want to make sure you don't have reflections that make the things look greasy.
Right.
Because shine makes things look greasy. So, so when you have a bigger location like an interior,
right,
that's a whole different challenge. But the small things and the big things, those are all challenging for lighting. Yeah.
And they all have their challenges.
Right.
So you shot your first home, and now did you do this for somebody so they could sell it? What was the reason, the impetus of this designer?
He was an interior designer.
Okay.
And
was he making like a brochure or something?
No, he always photographed his projects. He had just finished his home, and he said, why don't you try doing mine? So I did, and I really liked doing it, and I photographed a few projects for him.
So why it's important, I think, that you come onto our show is because you can create beauty in a space. And one of the things that you have the eye for finding beauty in a space, the way things are placed, color, and so on. And you've shot some of my work, and what I've noticed is you have a very good eye.
Thank you.
And you could look at a room and you could see what works. So let's start with a room in general. Most rooms are basically what? Rectangular boxes, right? With sheetrock.
Right.
So to photograph that, I would imagine the camera sees that as somewhat uninteresting, right?
Yes, but my philosophy was always been, I'm here to capture your creation in a very good light. So
exactly.
it's because when you design a room, that's your creation.
Right.
You're hiring me to document your creation, but in a very nice light.
But your artful eye captures the beauty, because the beauty could be there, but you need to sort of enhance
the angles, yes, that you shoot things at, right?
Sure. Well, you were very generous today, and you brought a broad selection of your work. So I'm going to take some of your pieces up, and then we'll talk about your rooms and how we did it and what makes a room beautiful. So maybe we can put up one of those first images. Okay, now this is a lovely image, kind of grand. What's the background behind this image?
Well, this was a show house in Allentown, designed by Carrie Oseman.
Okay.
And it was a front room with beautiful windows, and she put in the ceiling details, and she picked a really interesting palette of the turquoise and orange, which I thought was so dynamic.
I just think the use of color here makes this particular room pop. And that's one of the things. This is grounded by a lot of white molding, so the use of a dark color works well here because there's a sense of balance, which is very important, I think. Let's get the next image up. Okay, this is wonderful. Now tell me about this room.
This was a room in the Holiday House. It was a birthday celebration room.
Wow.
And this was designed by a group of ladies that were part of an organization.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, are the walls here black? Because
no,
they're
brown.
Black.
They're brown. It's Branchport brown, Benjamin Moore.
Nice.
And they did a lot of brown and cranberry. Not really cranberry, raspberry.
Okay.
And that was very important.
Well, the whole chocolate raspberry combination, we're very much in the grays and the grays this year, but it's a rich color combination, and I'm starting to see color come back again.
Actually, when I photographed this room, I put it in my apartment.
Really?
I made an accent wall with that Branchboard brown.
No, Branchboard brown is a color that I've used before, but not recently because it's more grays than browns. Rich color. Why don't we go to image number 3? Okay, this is a really interesting play on color, and I will say we shoot the radio show at 2 o'clock, and we talked about color combinations. I love that pear or citrus green with the gray. What a nice combination.
Yeah, it was a really nice combination. This was someone's home in Morristown, and the prints were the influence of color, because she had these beautiful prints that she wanted in this room, and she wanted them to stand out.
So I would say, as we're going through some of your images, they're quite beautiful, but there are certain things that make a room beautiful. So far in the first couple of images, I saw a lot of beautiful colors coming together. This one as well. But what makes a room beautiful, would you say, in general?
It's mostly angles, like that the furniture and the accessories in the room are at interesting angles. Things are placed interestingly, like something like this. It was just a straight-on shot, but you have a round, you have rectangles, you have...
There's a balance, right?
Right.
There's a balance in the room. Let's take a look at the next image. There's that image again. Next one. Now, this, I think shooting a kitchen is probably different, right? Because it's... Well, you tell me. It's a little bit cleaner and... It
was cleaner, and there was a lot of white, and the backsplash was a gray glass.
Right.
So, you have to be careful that your lighting doesn't get hot in that back glass reflecting, because that was all very shiny glass.
Sure, and I would imagine just that would be complicated in general to get a sense of balance. Is it easier to shoot a room that has softer surfaces than it is to shoot a kitchen where it's kind of clean?
Not really, because the kitchen, the hard surfaces, you can make them very interesting.
Yeah,
and you notice in this kitchen, the backsplash is white on white, and it plays off that nice white island, that the countertop on that island.
One of the things that I always say make rooms look beautiful is contrast. And what I notice about this particular kitchen is you have the floor, which is a vast contrast from the cabinets, so there's a crispness to it. The same thing with the island. The island is sort of either a dark gray or a black, and then there's that the white top, and then it's the balance, which is really kind of nice also. Okay, let's look at the next image. Okay, another white kitchen. Of course, these days, white kitchens are still very popular, although that's starting to change too, I think, right?
Yes.
So here's a nice white kitchen. Now, one of the things that I think even on set with patterns is you have to be very careful when you photograph patterns, don't you?
Yes.
Now, was that Harlequin pattern difficult to shoot so you got the angle where it wasn't too busy?
No, actually, it was probably the only color that was in the room, which really, I think if it was all white, it would have been a very boring kitchen. This designer is very talented, and she really played the color of the granite off on the backsplash. But
sure, she
made
pulled
it
out
fun.
some of those tones.
And made it fun, yeah.
Right, right. It's sort of like is it like a butterscotchy kind of color in the back?
Yeah.
There? And then a little bit of black going on there. Okay, let's go to the next image. Okay, now this looks like a lovely, set up the shot. I know nothing about this particular picture.
Oh, it's a pool house, actually, with the kitchen. And most people now, they like their pools with the nice lounge area, and that was the story. So
can we pull that shot back up so I can see it again? Maybe we can tighten up that a little bit. I want to talk about the when you're creating beauty in an outdoor space. Now, I don't know where this was, but I look in the far back and I see a lot of greenery, a lot of light coming through. How is it when you photograph a room, do you balance the light outside? Because even when I pick a paint color for outside, it's a lot more complicated because light is always changing.
Yes.
So how do you make that work?
Well, I try not to make it artificial. I mean, I try to use the available light that's there, and I do that even on the interiors. I don't want to artificially light. I don't want the room to look artificially lit.
Sure.
I want to enhance because you designed a lighting plan also, and this had a lighting plan also. I mean,
now, do you have to sort of compensate to make something look natural? Do you know what I mean?
You do. It's a fine line. That's why we look in the back of the camera and we say, okay, it looks a little overlit. I'll take it back a little bit. You want to make sure your shadows have a little detail in them, but that's
Wow.
really about it.
How long does it take you to set up a specific shot to do a room?
It depends. Usually the first setup is about 45 minutes.
Wow.
It depends.
Now, you brought up white a lot. Now, there was a period of time, maybe not so much now, I mean, even though there's a lot of neutrals, where people loved an all-white room. Now, an all-white room is probably the worst challenge to photograph, right?
It is a challenge, but I've noticed designers will use textures, and that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
So if you have a white on white room,
Right.
then the textures you pick make the room not boring.
Is it hard on film to delineate texture, though?
If there's
I mean, you can physically
yeah,
see it in the space, but what the camera lens sees is often different.
yeah, but we're using high definition cameras, so
Right.
if there's
so you're
texture,
capturing the texture.
yeah, if there's texture in it, we're going to see it,
Yeah. All right,
and that's where the lighting is important too.
let's take a look at another image. All right, make that big. Okay, so this is one of my projects. This is a lovely couple in Hunterdon County, New Jersey. And we really probably changed every surface in this house. Additions that we put on, this was the pool area. We just sort of gutted a very simple landscape and put in some blue stone and some bushes. And you really got the shot right here, I think. Captured the essence of their look.
Yeah, no, it really wasn't about the pool. It's about a serene area to
Right.
relax and enjoy.
Exactly. It sort of sets a pace for their look, which was a little bit more traditional in some of the projects out there, but it was charming.
Very.
Exactly. All right, what do we have up next? Okay, so this is another one of my projects here. This was the beginning, okay, because we did this quite a while ago. This is the beginning of the changes from some of the warmer colors to I started bringing blues and grays in. And actually, this woman hired me because she had a wallpaper dining room and she couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So I ripped down her new wallpaper and I said, I'm going to put dark navy blue walls. And she says, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. When you see what worked is when you see and that's why I think it works in the shots, when you see the contrast
Yes.
between all the white molding and trim and then just a pop of the rich navy.
Well, what I love about this photo is the progression from the dining room
The
to
depth.
the foyer
Right.
to the living room, and you're seeing that depth and
If you
different
could-
colors, how they...
If you could open up that shot a little bit so we can see what she's talking about. Because it was the progression. That's one of the things that it was nice that I had gotten compliments from people from social media was the depth of that house from the other side is that the progression of colors of having a neutral as a foyer color, a rich sort of accent in the dining room, and then sort of something in between on the other side. It showed the depth of color.
Yes, and that's what I liked about that shot.
Sometimes I'm a little bit sad about all the grays because I really, the grays are lovely, but I still miss color, I think.
Well, gray could be your basic palette, and then
Right.
you could add the color.
And grays,
pops.
yeah, grays, a great color to do things with as a secondary color. All right, what do we have next in our bag of tricks? Okay, that's another angle of that room. Those were prints that I had gotten. I was in Manhattan, and there was a beautiful French art book, which is all shells, all marine life, and I had some of those done, and then we have them framed in print, and we made them into prints. Look how lovely they look,
And
that gallery.
they really pop on that blue wall, yeah.
Yeah, they really do. And you know, there are influences in this room of a coastal nature, but everything doesn't have to be coastal.
Right.
When I try to bring coastal into people, they're like, well, I live in, Allentown, New Jersey, or I live in, I don't know, live in New Hope, Pennsylvania. How could I have coastal? Coastal could be anything, don't
Anywhere.
you think?
Anywhere.
It's just nature.
But you don't want to go overboard.
No.
That's it, yeah.
And like in this case, just touches of
Touches.
coastal. Yeah, and the warmth of the wood plays nicely against the navy. What else do we have? Okay, that was, now this was done quite a while ago. Now, was this a challenge for you? I remember what I had to do here because it was so neutral. I brought in a pop color of red.
On the dishes, which
on
really helped.
The dishes, and there, if you see in the background there's a small shot, but I did some red glassware to the side, and then I did a tea kettle just to give it some depth.
And that helps. It really does help. That's why a lot of people will prop a tabletop so
Sure.
that it really adds interest.
And I think that follows suit to what's going on now because so many people are doing Revere pewter for paint and just true neutrals that are brown gray with no color.
Right.
If you want that room to appear lovely to people, you have to pick a pop color and I think put a couple of elements around.
Right.
Now, when you're photographing a room, do you like to have large elements and not many of them, or smaller elements? What
Usually,
looks better?
Probably the larger
Right,
elements,
right.
and fewer of them.
Right.
And then you can, because the smaller elements might get a little lost and start to look cluttered.
Right. So where it's streamlined, I think it's nicer. Okay, let's see what else we have. Okay, let's open that up. Oh, that's beautiful. Now, tell me about this space.
This was a large kitchen, and it was white on white, but you'll see the backsplash has a lot of texture in that herringbone marble. And the lighted cases really help make it not boring,
It's funny that in this case, the lighted, which I love to do, just a little bit of accents in kitchen where you can put them behind glass. The lit accents show the depth in the space. And I don't know if it wasn't lit, it would sort of carry the same way. The other thing that I see here, and this is also keeping in mind anytime you do decorating, if you're doing an all-white sort of kitchen, which is so popular right now, is the geometric window treatment that's there, the Roman shade.
Yes.
Just the geometry is sort of just enough, even though it's also a neutral, to work within that space, and then that shows depth very much so. So if you're going to work with a neutral palette, you can balance it by doing some geometry. And that's a pretty good scale print, I think.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay, what else we have? Lovely. Now, where is this?
Jersey City.
Wow, that's a place I'd want to hang out.
Yeah,
Did you hang out there?
I was there by myself, and I got to shoot a lot of angles of this.
Well, that's not a place you want to be by yourself, Marissa.
Well, what I loved was the sound of the water fountain. If you see, there's a water fountain, a water feature in the back.
You know what? I'm not even picking that up. I'm looking at that awesome fire pit.
The fire pit, yeah, that was pretty well lit. I mean, that was a time exposure.
Let's talk about that. So was that like a sort of a gas line that runs? First of all, it's above, right?
It's above,
and there's a gas line.
Gas line, and it's covered with, looks like, I think there was like like these volcanic pebbles.
Right.
And the gas comes through, and
wow.
And it threw off a lot of heat. It really did.
Imagine.
And they used their backyard a lot, and the water feature was just so nice to hear.
Yeah. Well, the combination of sort of the fire and the water is balanced. Let's look at that again. Now, I see some Asian influences there. Look at the far back. So that's the water feature.
Yes, the water feature.
Okay. I thought that was a gate or something. Okay, so I'm seeing it smaller than yours.
Yeah, that's true.
So very serene looking.
It was, but it was, if you notice beyond the fence, and the fence had a lot of texture, and it was more of a stick fence.
Yeah, I'm looking at the detail.
Yeah,
there's
a lot, and if you see behind it, it's an industrial building.
Oh yeah, you kind of
because
see that.
These are those townhomes where they're right on top of each other. I don't have control about what's going on beyond that fence.
Yeah, northern Jersey environment. That looks like a place where you'd want to do meditation. And I don't know what time of the day you shot this, but I see some dappled light in the background.
Yeah,
what time?
It was probably in the, I think it was in the afternoon. It was in the fall, in the afternoon, and it was when it started coming through between the buildings and the trees. So there's buildings on the other side of this also. So there's the buildings on the other street. So that's the challenge when you're shooting these kind of townhomes. What's
the best weather aesthetically to shoot a room in? Is it better if it's really sunny, if it's really shady, is it raining? What makes, what light or absorption of light looks best inside?
Well, the fall is a beautiful time of year because the lighting is so beautiful. It's a very golden color to it. But I've had to shoot in situations where it was raining outside.
Yeah, because if somebody books you, you're going.
I'm going.
Right.
And unless it's an outdoor shoot, I can't shoot in the rain. But I've shot where it's snowed. I've shot where it's raining outside, sunny. You try to get it where it's not too hot of the light coming through. I mean, you want a little filtered light coming through.
Right.
You don't want it that hot blaze. Although I've had to shoot in that situation and you just use it as an element. Wow. In the room. You just use it as another element in the room.
But I would think probably what you say is very true, that the most challenging light is that very bright light, because often what does very bright light do? It distorts everything, and it kind of probably washes it out, no?
It washes it out, and it's hard to bring it back. I mean, I can't light the room enough to compensate for that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I said, you put it in a spot where you wait and see where it goes, where it might be just a streak across a boring floor, so it becomes an element in the room.
Oh, I can imagine that being very lovely looking
to
have that. It's almost like that Manhattan henge where the light kind of goes through everything.
So sometimes you have, like they say, you have lemons, you make lemonade, and that's exactly what we do sometimes.
I always say you have lemons, you make limoncello.
Yeah, that's even better.
Better than lemonade. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, let's tighten that up. Really pretty kitchen, great architecture.
Yeah, this was a really large
kitchen.
bathroom.
What am I saying?
Bathroom.
Bathroom. I'm sorry. Maybe I had some limoncello before that.
Yeah.
No. Actually, when you look at the uppers, because they're all glass, for a second I thought it was.
Well, it was beautiful cabinetry.
Yeah, beautiful.
And this was white on
cabinetry.
white. It was mother of pearl floor with Carrara marble edge, and it was all these wonderful tile textures, and it was really for a tile company who did the bathroom.
Wasn't that nice? Now, are there sconces right on the? I'm just
on the mirror, coming out of the mirror.
Sconces on the mirror, which is nice. So it sort of gives it a double effect, which is the. Aren't you find that you're seeing a lot of freestanding tubs now, almost as an architectural feature in these master bathrooms? Not remember
always.
the tubs used to be sort of encased,
right,
in that big block.
Yeah.
I see more they're very expensive, but I see more of the freestanding.
Freestanding, when you have new construction, everyone puts the freestanding tub in.
You don't always have room to do that.
You don't always have room, and this was a very large room.
But I think one of the things that make it so striking actually is the tub here.
Yes.
Because without a tub, I would not know necessarily
well,
right away.
Well, it's such a centerpiece in the room.
Yeah, it just sort of captures your eye a little bit. Looks like when you photographed this, it might have been kind of sunny.
It was actually cloudy.
Oh, it was cloudy. Okay.
Almost a little foggy outside.
So your balance of light was very good here because it's a bright picture. All right, let's go to another image. Now, I look at this image, which is lovely, and I see those windows, and the architecture of the windows is what I'm drawn to. But there's a lot going on in that room. Tell me about this room.
Well, it was a designer's home, and she was very much into architectural features.
Sure. Is this a Tudor house? Because I see a lot of grounded by a lot of wood.
No, this was a new build.
Wow, it doesn't look it.
No, and she took a lot of these, the buttresses and the windows from churches, old big, things.
Well,
that
the first thing I thought of when I looked at it was I thought church.
Well, she took a lot of things from the church, and that fireplace. I mean, all those.
What's the story on the? I'm just looking at some of the details in this particular case on the mantelpiece. There has slopes down. So, is there some metal on that as well?
On the mantle is actually it was all carved wood that was very shiny and recessed, and then she offset that with a very modern seating area.
Right.
So it was the whole house is a juxtaposition of modern and old world. It's a very interesting home.
Very interesting. Yeah, I just love the windows. I love the depth of this. I love some of the architectural features. Even though color-wise in this room there really isn't much.
No, it's white walls.
Yeah, but again, it's what you had said about the texture, making it visually interesting in the space.
Yes.
And people think when they decorate, maybe some people are just naturally not drawn to color. You got to create drama in a room, right?
Right.
So,
well, even if you have these are white walls and white furniture. It's the shapes. It's the architectural details.
And
that are
also,
very
what
important.
we're talking about, the images are here all big. So I think that's one of the reasons, because it doesn't look cluttered, because there's not. It's lovely, but the images are all to scale, right? They're big images in a big room.
And that's why in something like this, every piece that's in that room is so important.
Exactly. Okay, what else we got going? I love the colors in here. The paint color to me is it almost sort of flows throughout the room. It's this beautiful watery blue.
It's like a robin's egg blue.
Oh,
it's very
really beautiful.
And it was such a tiny room. I think I was shooting this one from the closet.
No, that's what I wonder, because I do shoot, when I don't have you, of course. Everything I because of social media, anything I do goes on there. And when it's small, sometimes like you're standing on it, you're kind of going to go like this to get it to work. So I guess small spaces are probably really difficult to get the depth of it, right?
Right. Yeah, and I also have the lenses that will help me get something like this. Yeah.
Do you ever photograph homes for realtors for their brochures?
No, but I've had some of my homes that I photographed for the magazine.
Right.
Used like for Sotheby's. They will call me, the house is for sale. We want to use the photos that you did.
Sure. How is it with photography? When I started, I wrote a book, as you know. I'm on a book tour, and Barnes & Noble sent me out to a photographer to have a picture taken. And I've been in a couple of newspapers and magazines, USA Today, on my book. And every time my photograph is in there with an article, it's credited to the photographer. Now, I purchased the photographs. So what is that sort of an industry standard thing?
Yeah, the copyright is always with the photographer.
So when you shoot something,
right,
even if somebody purchases it,
right,
you get a credit.
Yes.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Usually, yeah.
That's sort of like the business practice.
Pretty much, yeah.
Always interesting in that. Okay, what else we have going on here? We're going to open up. So again, another outside shot. Now, where was this?
This was, it was up in northern Bergen County.
Okay. Is that a golf course? Looks like
that was a golf course. It was the backyard, pretty much.
Oh, this is an individual home.
There's an individual home, and there was a golf course. It was right at the edge of the golf course. Now, this was lit with lights. I
me
had,
why.
I had, it was a very dark area. There was no lighting.
Does the
And-
portico itself would make that space darker also?
Yeah, and there was no lighting up in there, so
Mm-hmm.
I had lights kind of out on the lawn, bare heads, to make it look like there was directional, like a sun. Like you can see, it looks like there's sunlight coming in.
It does. It looks like there's sunlight coming
Yeah.
in. So again, as we always say in design, it was just a sense of balance to get the shot right.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's a fire in that fireplace there. What time of the year was it? It's got to be at least spring because it looks.
Well, I think is that a fire I put in? I think.
Oh,
That's a
you put that in?
I have a lot of fires.
A lot of fires.
A lot of people don't want you lighting their fireplace, so I have a library of fires,
Fires, and you just kinda made that
that I
happen.
retouch in.
Okay, let's see if we have other images here. I think we're getting towards the end of our images. All right, take a look at this one. Beautiful, very clean.
And that was one of those freestanding tubs.
Yeah.
It was square, very modern.
Really, really nice. So talk to me about what makes this room interesting, because again, most of the elements of here are white, but I just find this strikingly beautiful.
Well, I love the gray glass tile. I mean,
Yeah.
really, really beautiful. And then the Carrera floor. This was a vignette from a larger shot that had appeared in Design NJ.
Isn't that
And
lovely?
it was just the details of the softness of what's going on the tray, and those hard modern edges on that bathtub were just. I just love that bathtub.
You know, we're in a phase right now where things are very clean and very crisp and very transitional. I think it's very important to at least have a couple of elements of softness.
Yes,
If everything's hard, it's just not going to look good.
it's hard on the eyes, I think.
Exactly, and that's why the pop colors and texture and softness, I think, are critical right now in the space. Do we have any other shots left? We have about 2.5 minutes. Let's see what we got there. Okay, so that's an interesting space. Again, an all-white room.
Yes.
I love the drum fixture. Is it difficult to film when you have mirrors? Because there's always a chance that your reflection is going to be in that.
Yes, there is. I try to I'll retouch myself out if I have to, but because sometimes I've photographed a bathroom that was all mirrored, and when you do something like that, it's very difficult
Sure.
to get yourself out. But
Do you ever have to cover mirrors or cover windows to make a shot work?
no, never. We try. You got to work with what you have.
Okay. I don't know if that's our last image. Let's see if we have one more. Okay. Oh, beautiful room. Now, where is this?
It's in New York City.
Yeah.
Lower
that's like a
Manhattan.
New York City, Lower Manhattan
Yeah,
apartment.
and there's actually a fire feature in there. Which
Did
was
you make
very,
the fire feature?
No, I did
okay.
not. That was
Okay.
actually the gas fire feature,
Yeah.
which was really interesting in that room. And that was part of a bigger, like an open floor plan.
Now, how
living
big
room.
were the ceilings here? They look tall.
They're
but-
very high. This is an old industrial building. It was
Yeah.
converted into apartments. They were probably about, I would say at least 15 feet high.
Sure. Yeah, we're getting down to about a minute and a half, so I'm going to have to a little bit wrap up. But what would you say from your wealth of experience? What really looks good in a room? Is it color? Is it texture? What would you say if you could give a takeaway for people that are thinking about making their home be its best? Is it big pieces? What's the thing that makes a room stunning?
I think it's something personal that they really love and building around that. It could be a painting. It could be, and just, or if it's a beautiful sofa, and
Right.
just playing with that, building around it. It could be an old sofa that you add a modern piece to, keeping it eclectic. I love the eclectic look when you're mixing errors. It's really great.
And it's so it's more in style than it ever was.
Yes, absolutely.
If anybody wants to have you work with them, how can they get in touch with you?
I have a website, MarissaPellegrini.com.
Marissa
Pellegrini.com,
wonderful.
and they can go there and get all my contact information.
Sure, I know you're in many magazines, but you do a lot of work with Design New Jersey.
Design New Jersey.
So if they check that out, they'll see how beautiful your work is and all you bring to the table. If you could do something different with your life, would you do this or something else? Bet you say you would do this.
I would do this. I love photography.
You have a passion for it, and I think when somebody has a passion for something, you see that, and it's reflective in their work.
Thank you.
Well, I thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. More shows coming up. Bye-bye.